Hello and welcome. This is the Vibrant Soulful Wellness Podcast, and this is your podcast for ideas, practices, and strategies for living and working more vibrantly and soulfully. I'm your host, Annie Barrett. I've spent the past 25 years guiding individuals, groups, and workplaces towards higher well-being and greater fulfillment using the tools of coaching, lifestyle medicine, habit change, science, mindfulness, and yoga. And I'm so glad you're here. So, in today's episode, I am excited to talk about this idea of your being called to this world, your calling. In yoga language, we call this word dharma. And it is one of the topics that I always like to explore in the month of January. There's a quote by an author, James Hillman, and he says, "Each person enters this world called." Each person enters this world called. And so in the month of January, I love to consider what is it that we are called to be doing? What is stirring in us? What is making us come alive? I believe that each of us in this world, we are in a particular place at this particular time for a particular purpose. There's this intersection between who we are and the call of the times. So it's an interesting contemplation for the month of January, and also just for our life, where we are in our life, in the season that we're in. I myself find myself in my second season or second half of life, so to speak. I'll be 54 at the end of this month. And British author Sharon Blackie says that the second half of our lives can actually be a time when our calling, in terms of what we're doing in this world, is more fully revealed. Or we may just feel like we've lived long enough to realize who we are, what we stand for, and how we can live most authentically. And sometimes the sense of calling, or I'll also use the word dharma here, may have more to do with our being in the world than our doing. But in most cases, we're both being and doing. And I feel like January is an auspicious time to explore how we can align this feeling of what's stirring in us with what's going on in the world. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time talking about that and maybe some practices that we can use to hone that. For me, over many decades, yoga has been such a practice. Yoga has been a practice where I can inquire about my calling and I can clear out my body and clarify and clear out my mind and open up my heart to be able to listen to that inner wisdom, that inner voice that knows what I ought to be doing. Because no matter where we are and what we're doing, there's always the opportunity to experience and find alignment. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I think that I can already see we're in for a wild ride this year. How is it that each of us is meant to lean into what's going on, to learn from what's going on, to serve and to love and to take care? And these are all words that have to do with Dharma. How can we keep aligning our bodies, our minds, and our hearts to our inner compass and to helping sustain and nurture what's going on in the world? And this word sustain and nurture, this word is inherent in the word dharma. The word dharma comes from Sanskrit and it has to do with doing what is life affirming. And we might call it our own particular dharma, our own particular calling, but also what we're doing to help a better world. So it's a word that means duties. It also has to do with our own desires and what can make the world more life affirming. So, for example, what is it that we can be doing to support and nurture and sustain goodness in all of our areas of influence, both for ourselves, right? What can we do to nurture, support, and sustain our own bodies, our minds, our hearts? And then how do we do that for our households, for our communities, and out into the world? Each of us has our own area of influence, the place where we meet life. And this word dur, this root word of dur, is about making firm, nurturing, and sustaining. So this is a contemplation for the month of January that you might take on. And some of the ways that you might do this might be through having a mind-body practice, In my case, it's yoga many times during the week, most mornings. You can join my community and do yoga with me and do this work on the mat. I feel that the practice of making my body firm and clearing out the cobwebs, so to speak, so that life force energy, what we call in yoga prana, can flow through me and I can do more good in the world, that's a simple thing that I can do each day. That helps me clarify who I am, and so I can make good on what I do for myself and others. Another practice that I do is journaling, and I have kept a journal for most of my life since probably I was 10 years old or even 8 years old or something like that. I haven't written in my journal daily, but I write in it often enough to get clear, to process stuff that's going on, and also to help me connect with my better wisdom, my higher judgment, the part of me that knows what's wise. And it also helps me connect with that something bigger. And for each of us, that something bigger, maybe it is our higher selves. Maybe it's a sense that we're connected to source or the universe. You can choose the word that you have. But I find that when I write in my journal, I'm able to let wiser, better thoughts flow through me onto the page. And those turn into then actions that I can do in the world. So yoga, journaling, and another aspect for me that helps me get clear on my dharma and knowing what's good in the world is meditation, which is another practice that I teach and I like to share widely. I feel that meditation doesn't have to be something that's mysterious. It's something that any one of us can do. It's about taking our flow of awareness inward. Often our flow of awareness is outward, or we're looking, tasting, touching, seeing, you know, smelling, all that's on the outside, which of course is wonderful and good, and we ought to be doing that. We live in an amazing world. Using our senses to make sense of the world makes sense, right? But then, of course, we have this capacity to turn our awareness inward. Making some time and space and quiet for that inward looking is important because life gets busy and we can be on autopilot. So for me, my practice of meditation gives me that opportunity to pause, to soften, to breathe, to drop in, let everything get a little quieter and still. And then I find that my nervous system can settle, that I might be less agitated, I can be more relaxed, and I can see more clearly where I am and what I need to do. In terms of if we want to talk physiologically, it helps connect me with my prefrontal cortex. So I'm not operating from my reptilian brain, which oftentimes is stress response, but instead I'm able to settle back and say, okay, given what's going on here, how can I make the best choice, right? With my mindset, with my words, with my actions. That's something meditation can provide. And there are many different styles of meditation. And I feel that no matter what tradition you're drawn to, you can find a way to become mindful and meditate. For some of us, that might be through a seated practice, which I myself enjoy. And for other people, it could be doing something that's out in nature that is meditative, which I also enjoy. Walks in nature would be the fourth thing that I think I do to help connect me with Dharma. Walking outdoors, and it can be, we can take a mindful walk. It's nice to be in nature. For me personally, I like to be in nature amongst the trees, a little bit away from the hustle and bustle of neighborhoods and cities, because I find that nature offers me both a way of settling into who I am and recognizing that I really am part of something bigger, that we're part of not just humankind, but we're part of a planet that needs us to be connected. So walks in nature offer me an opportunity to connect with that bigger planet, Earth, that we're part of, and also to settle and to get quiet. And I find that being in nature helps me do that. So, as you navigate through this month of January, I encourage you to really consider that you are called to be here. That however wild, strange, upsetting it feels to be on this planet at this time, which I know that it does, that you're here for a reason, that there is an intersection between who you are and the call of the times. And no matter where you find yourself, if you give yourself the opportunity to pause, to get quiet, to clear out your body in whatever way you do that, maybe even do a little writing, you'll get clear and you'll know in what way you can serve what you're meant to be learning, how you can offer yourself to the time that you're in, and how you can contribute to nurturing and sustaining a better world, how you can be a force for good. So that's what this little podcast is about today. And I hope that you take this in and that you find the ways that work for you. I'd love to hear how you connect with your calling and your Dharma. So that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, you can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, maybe some other streaming platforms soon, but right now we're on Spotify. You can also head over to my website, www.vibrantsoulful.com, where you can join my weekly newsletter, get links to these episodes, and enjoy other wellness resources. And thanks for being here. I'm wishing you well.